Bring home the beef this October at the new Lloydminster Nissan. Finance any new vehicle with the new Lloydminster Nissan, and you'll get a quarter of beef at Diamond 7 Meats for free. Selection is at its best at the new Lloydminster Nissan with an amazing lineup of cars, trucks, and SUVs, like the incredible Nissan Pathfinder and very popular Nissan Rogue. Finance a new Nissan Frontier and fill your freezer this winter. Bring home a new Nissan and bring home the beef only at the new Lloydminster Nissan. Now on Highway 17 South. The new Lloydminster Nissan. We won't sell you a car, we'll help you buy one.
Local people. Local news and events. Local sports. Local matters. For all things Lloydminster area, this is Live with Kurt Price.
Welcome into the new Lloydminster Nissan on Highway 17 South. Still consider this a brand new building, and we invite you to come in, finance a new vehicle with the new Lloydminster Nissan this month. You get a free quarter beef courtesy of Diamond 7 Meats. Plus, get winter ready with our service department, 25% off wheel alignments, 15% off battery maintainers and in-cabin heaters. Plus, get a winter inspection block heater and coolant test done for just $19.99. Well, with the Saskatchewan election beginning next week already and running through October the 28th. We have Colleen Young joining us on the program today. Of course, she is the incumbent for this area, and she's served the Lloydminster area for over 10 years now, and she represents, of course, the Saskatchewan Party. So we're going to get into details in just a moment. Superior Water specializes in nothing but water, and with over 22 years in the business, they're proud and confident that their water and their service is superior for iron filters, water softeners, reverse osmosis distillers, chlorine removal, and H2S odor removal. Give Superior Water a call, 780-875-6636, or you can stop in and visit them on their 57th Avenue location right beside Sheepskin Loft, and stay hydrated with pure, clean water. I drink Superior Water because I believe it is superior. As I mentioned, the Saskatchewan election is quickly approaching, and tomorrow night, the Lloydminster Chamber of Commerce will host a 2024 Saskatchewan Provincial Election All-Candidates Forum. It runs from 6:30 to 8 o'clock at the Lloydminster Exhibition in the WLS Convention Centre. It coincides with the Leaders Debate that's happening on TV tomorrow night. The Lloydminster Kinsmen are hosting their annual Harvest Hoedown at WS Convention Centre this Saturday night, and tickets are still available. You can call Darcy to get those, 780-871-4818. Main Street and JD Bixby are performing, and the doors open at 7, dance at 8. There's a midnight lunch included, and myself and Heather Price will be your MCs for that one. It's one of the big events, fun events that we always look forward to doing together with. And you can join Heather and I on our War Memorial Tour through Europe this spring. Go to lamberttravel.ca today and have a look at a trip that we've custom designed to take us through the Netherlands, Brussels, and France. We'll see war memorials, battlefields, museums, as well as some downtime for this trip. Like in Paris, we're going to take some time in Paris as well. The best thing to do is call Lambert Travel, or as I mentioned, go to lamberttravel.ca to take a look at the trip. The information is all there, including pricing, 780-875-4414. The trip begins in Amsterdam on May 28th. The Gold Horse Casino will be a busy place this weekend with Border City Card Show on Saturday and the Olive Shoes Wedding Show on Sunday. Both will run 11 to 5. Chris and Nicole Brinklow are running both of those, and Chris told us that there will be 53 tables at the card show. It's just $5 to get in, and this year he says they have a couple of NHL alumni members that will be signing autographs, including Jeff Waywitka.
And then our second guest, so Jeff's going to be there from 11 to 1, and then they have a game that night, so he's going to take off and do his actual job. And then I was telling you the quick story. I'm not going to get into it here, but just wandering through a Costco and, through a crazy story, met a guy named Alan Stewart who played for the New Jersey Devils and the Boston Bruins. And he only played a handful of games, 64 games, I think, in the NHL, but he accrued 260-some penalty minutes.
So Al Stewart will be there starting at 1 p.m. And today is the day where we head out and deliver our first Cupcakes for Caregivers. Cupcakes for Caregivers is a way to honor those dedicated professionals in our lives, as well as reward those who go the extra mile to take care of their loved ones. We've partnered with the Lloydminster and District United Way and Sobeys here in Lloydminster to highlight the great work that our nurses and our doctors and our health professionals do. But you could also nominate someone who is closer to you, a mom or a dad who takes care of a family member, or maybe it's a neighbor for shoveling the driveway and taking care of some elderly neighbors. All you have to do, and it's really simple, is just send an email to livewithkurtprice@gmail.com, and we'll take care of the rest pretty much. And we're excited today to deliver those first cupcakes here later on this afternoon. And like I say, just because we're delivering our first set of cupcakes doesn't mean that you can't keep those nominations coming. So please get those nominations in. BioClean Disaster Services is committed, certified, reliable, and will help get your life back. Taking care of your belongings, taking care of your property is so important, but you know what's really important for BioClean Disaster Services? Taking care of you. And when you talk to people who have needed BioClean Disaster Services, they will tell you that it's great to have a local company taking care of them. Well, they're not only the local restoration company, they're also Lloydminster's largest restoration company. And the other thing that makes them great is keeping you up to date on what is happening with your restoration. So telling you what they're doing and why they're doing it. BioClean Disaster Services, 1-833-246-8326. We'll take a break. And when we come back, we're going to get to know, if you don't already, Mrs. Colleen Young, your incumbent MLA for Lloydminster and area, and we'll dive into some pressing issues as well.
For 110 years, Lloydminster and District Co-op has been part of your journey. To celebrate, we're giving away a truck built to keep you moving forward. This truck is made for your life, whether you're running a business, exploring the great outdoors, or just enjoying a family road trip. It's more than just a vehicle. It's our way of appreciating you, our members. Join us in celebrating 110 years of community and take your chance to win. Lloydminster and District Co-op. Members together, growing community.
How can you help support the oil and gas industry and jobs in Western Canada? The answer is closer than you think. Sell your scrap metals to PWM Steel. PWM sells scrap iron to Evraz, located in Regina. Evraz's #1 customer is the energy sector, building pipes and plates for the oil and gas industry. PWM Steel is your locally owned metal recycler and steel service center in the area. Plus, they're a strong supporter of the community. PWM Steel, your top steel supplier for Alberta and Saskatchewan for 40 years.
At Jason Arden Associates Cooperators, we're proud to be a top-rated local insurance company that offers flexible solutions and expert advice for all your insurance and investment needs. We'll work with you to tailor your insurance specific to your needs, and we offer investment advice that always puts you first. At Cooperators, one of our core values is to give back to the communities that we live in. Thanks to the support of our clients in Lloydminster and area, in 2023, Jason Arden Associates has donated $40,000 to local nonprofits, charities, students, athletes, and other special events. How does your insurance company support our community?
It's more than just taxes at L&A CPA. Assurance, accounting, retirement planning, estate planning, business consulting, financial consulting, farm program support, and bookkeeping. But yes, there is always taxes. The team at L&A CPA is committed to helping you achieve your best results and will be there to assist you every step of the way. L&A CPA, with offices in Provost, Vermilion, and Lloydminster.
Welcome back inside the new Lloydminster Nissan. Welcome to Care Freedom Living. Welcome to Wellings of Lloydminster, a 55 and over active community in Lloydminster with gorgeous 1- and 2-bedroom villas. This community is perfect for those who are on the go all the time, maybe starting to travel a lot. It's also perfect for those that are starting to worry about their health a little bit and don't want to go out and shovel in -40. Don't want to go out and cut the grass in +40 weather. You can call Darlene and have a walk through one of their beautiful villas. They're actually building a beautiful clubhouse right now that's going to tie the community together. They're even putting in a pickleball court. But what happens is you call Darlene and you walk through one of their 2-bedroom villas. She'll take you through one of their 2-bedroom villas, which have garages that are deep enough where you can have a workbench. And remember, it's for people who are still active, people who are still living independently. So if you want to have that workbench, if you want to have a pet, you can still do all of that. 780-872-8537. Wellings has been missing in this community for a while, that sort of living. And now it is here, 780-872-8537. Once again, our guest is Colleen Young, and she has given us some time. She's been knocking on a lot of doors and visiting a lot of people, and it is great to have her give us some of that time. So, Colleen, thanks for being here.
You're welcome, Kurt. I'm always happy to come and join you.
Well, let's start with what you're hearing when you're out knocking on doors. What are you hearing mostly, Colleen, from your constituents?
Well, as we know, the homeless situation and the drug addiction situation here in Lloydminster has got many people's attention. That is probably one of the number one conversations I have on the doorsteps. Healthcare is still another one in this community. As we all know, we have a hospital that was built back in 1986 that at that time served just over 14,000 people, and now we have a community of about 35,000 people and serve a larger area of up to 150,000 people from our rural communities and surrounding area. And we do need to do some major renovation and changes to our hospital and add some more specialized care that will serve the residents of this community.
I want to start with the homeless issue because, as you said, it's everywhere right now, and the biggest thing is we've had the mayor, we've had councillors on, and I don't want to use the passing the buck, but they did bring up this is a provincial. You should be talking to your MLAs about this. What do you hear when you hear the mayor and councillors saying, you know what, this is a provincial issue. We should be discussing more about how we got here and where we're going with our MLAs.
Well, I'm not your MLA right now. Let's get that clear.
Right.
I'm the Sask Party candidate for this constituency, and at this point in time, once the writ is dropped, you're no longer the MLA, but I have served this community for 10 years as the MLA, and I have lived in this community for 38 years. So I have, with my family, so I have seen the changes, and I have seen the increased instances that we have with our homeless situation and with our drugs and addiction and mental health that people are experiencing in this community. And I have empathy too. I know that they're human beings and they need to be cared for. But I think as a government, we've done a great job in providing leadership. And one of the commitments we made was adding 500 addiction spaces within our province. Lloydminster here alone at the Slim Thorpe Recovery Center, as it's now called, did get funding for 15 beds, which I recently find out that they are all full and are all in service. We weren't able at first to use them because Alberta Health Services runs the facility and didn't have medical detox. Which, as I understand it, they do have medical detox now. We've been able to refer people there. I was up at Onion Lake here just back in, I believe it was August or September, where we opened 15 detox and addiction beds too in their treatment center there. So we are working away at adding those beds around the province, and it has helped to be able to do that, along with the government supporting nonprofit organizations who are working within our community, such as the Olive Tree. We too were able, as the government, I was able to advocate and get some money for the Olive Tree to be able to house some of the homeless. But let's be clear, our men's shelter was established to serve men who were down and out and needed temporary housing and supports in order to get back on their feet. It has grown over the last, I would say, 25 years to go beyond that, and it isn't a men's shelter anymore. It's become an everything shelter, trying to serve women, trying to serve men, trying to serve people with addictions. And it's not meant to be that. It's only meant to be to serve men. Both governments, the government of Alberta and the government of Saskatchewan, fund 14 beds each. So there's only 28 bed capacity there. Yes, it needs expansion, probably. But I think what we need to separate out is those that are down and out on their luck and just need supports and a hand up and some guidance along the way, from those who are experiencing drug addiction and mental health. And those are the ones that are hard to house and hard to deal with. And until we get a better handle on that and are able to find a way to serve those people, I think we're struggling as a community and even as a province in order to do that. We have put centers in both Saskatoon and Regina that are sort of a hold and secure, and we're hoping to do more of those across the province. We've put forward in our election platform to be able to change some laws so that our police are able to pick people up and take them to a center and get them the treatment that they need.
They want to expand. The people in that area are worried about expansion, and they would like that facility moved. If you become the MLA once again, would you support expanding it where it is? Would you like to see it moved? Is there an appetite from the Saskatchewan government to have it moved out of the community, which has been suggested, or into a less populated area?
If the men's shelter, as I just said to you, was treated as the men's shelter was set up to be and has a contract with both governments to provide the supports to men who are just down and out and need shelter temporarily till they get the skill development and the supports they need to go and get a job and get back on their feet and maybe into their own home, it doesn't necessarily need to be moved. It's taking out of our community, and I believe, and I'm of the opinion, and this is my own opinion, that we need to segregate those who have drug addictions and are hard to house out of the community and into their own facility.
So would a facility like that be appropriate for Lloydminster?
In downtown?
Well, anywhere in this area. Like, would the Saskatchewan government helps fund the men's shelter right now?
Correct.
As it is. Would there be an appetite? You mentioned new facilities in Regina and in Saskatoon. Would there be an appetite to fund some kind of facility like that in Lloydminster?
I'm sure there would be, but I don't believe it needs to be in Lloydminster. I think we need to move it out of Lloydminster. I've also had a conversation with the new manager there, Kagan, and even suggested that, maybe a partnership with the Thorpe Recovery Centre to build a facility out there and look at providing support from Saskatchewan to help with the addiction and detox services that maybe need, and expand that as far as that goes. And move those folks that really need that extra help beyond just getting back on their feet, is getting them out of the drug addictions, because that's what's causing the problems.
The other thing that the people in that area are complaining about, and I've heard some other people in Lloydminster on the Saskatchewan side, and we've heard the mayor say this, is there's no funding for police officers from Saskatchewan for Lloydminster. And with 30% less money for RCMP officers coming from Alberta, we end up with less and less police officers all the time. I've heard Scott Moe say they're going to be increasing policing in Saskatchewan should they win the election, should the Saskatchewan Party win the election. Does that include police officers for Lloydminster?
Well, when the Premier and Premier Smith from Alberta were here for the oil show, we did have a conversation afterwards, and that was a topic that was brought up, and the Premier said that would be something that he would be willing to look at. The challenge was, of course, previous mayors, when they moved from F Division in Saskatchewan to K Division, they gave up some of that in order to get the extra services that K Division was providing in the new detachment. And so that's where things kind of got separated out and funding changed, the funding system changed. And I know that I have advocated, along with Mayor Albers, at a number of meetings with previous ministers of policing, corrections and policing, to try to get some of that funding back for Lloydminster. So I know Premier Moe has committed to having a conversation once again in order to see how we work towards possibly adding some marshal services, police services. I know we have committed to funding additional RCMP members as well in the province.
So the Saskatchewan government, SGI actually, sends a motorcycle police officer here once in a while. I hear about this all the time. People complain to me about it all the time. Are they complaining to you about how, on just, from 17 east, there's a motorcycle police officer and it's taking money out of this community? Where's that money going? People have all kinds of questions about it. Is it really fair to have the Saskatchewan government sending a police officer into Lloydminster to ticket citizens when they don't even offer policing here in the city?
Well, I think that Saskatoon made a decision. I'm assuming they've had conversation with the RCMP here and are providing that additional services so that the local RCMP don't have to be doing that kind of ticketing, and they can focus on the real crime that they are needed to do. So I'm assuming that they've had those conversations with the Saskatoon Police Service in order to be able to come here and do that work outside of, the work that would be taken away from the RCMP having to do it.
I had a conversation with Brian Nickel, and he mentioned, well, it's no problem if you just don't break the law. It's pretty simple.
It's true. It's pretty simple.
It's pretty simple if you just don't break the law.
Then you shouldn't need to worry about a motorcycle police officer sitting on the side of the road.
But certainly you can understand a little bit about, Saskatchewan residents on the Saskatchewan side saying, why aren't my dollars going to policing here? And then it doesn't seem fair to me that I'm only being policed on the Saskatchewan side. You must have some empathy for those people.
I do. And like I said, I have worked hard to advocate with the mayor and with the previous ministers to try to get extra funding for, so that we are the same as being treated fairly and equally the same as some like Yorkton, for instance, that, has that police service as well. So I will continue to advocate to see if there's a way that we can get it. And I know, like I said, Premier Moe has committed to sitting down and having that conversation as well.
We've talked about doing that in January. The mayor has brought that up on this program, that January, if the Saskatchewan Party should win the election again, and everything works out, everything kind of aligns, we'll have a kind of a rendezvous, let's call it, in the city to talk about Lloydminster. How frustrating is it as the MLA to constantly have to remind the provincial government, I think we've had this conversation before,
many times,
that Lloydminster is so different?
It is. And I have that conversation no matter what minister I'm trying to advocate for. When I was the MLA representing here, every issue is a border issue because, each province funds their citizens based on their population, right? So, Alberta is funding the residents of Lloydminster live on the Alberta side. Saskatchewan is funding programs and services for residents on the Saskatchewan side. And yet we all know we share those services as a population, right? So we need to bring the premiers together to have that conversation and have them understand that when an MLA goes to their ministers to advocate for Lloydminster, it does need to be treated differently.
I totally thought that when I asked you what you're hearing from constituents in the area, that affordability would be at the top of the list. I'm not shocked that homelessness was, and healthcare, but I really thought affordability would be there as well. People are finding it so much more expensive to live in Canada, not just Saskatchewan, but in Canada right now. How can the Saskatchewan government, from a Lloydminster basis, help lower the affordability crisis that's going on with groceries, with gas? I mean, gas here is, I think it's $1.49 today. In Bonnyville, up the road, it's $1.34. you know, I know you don't have a lot to do with gas, but there's other things that the Saskatchewan government can help with. I don't see relief from the carbon tax living on the Saskatchewan side because I get my gas from NMAX. So how does the Saskatchewan Party help Lloydminster residents?
One of the things I've consistently advocated for is a way to help and support the Lloydminster residents who don't get the benefit of the removal of the carbon tax off their gas or electric home heating. It isn't just Lloydminster. I mean, as you go north here a bit, there's, as we know, there's 3 gas lines coming into Lloydminster, and ATCO Gas owns all 3 of them. And so the gas is provided by ATCO Gas here, and it is private in Alberta. So Saskatchewan, Sask Energy is a Crown corporation owned by Saskatchewan, so we could have the carbon tax removed, as we have done, and are going to extend it again for another year, because as we know, the federal government is going to impose an additional raise in that carbon tax come April of next year. But the Lloydminster residents don't get the benefit of that because of the fact that their gas is being provided by ATCO Gas. And Saskatchewan can't tell ATCO to remove the carbon tax as a private company. But I have been advocating to the minister to see if there's something that can be done, even if it's a small nominal rebate or a check or something, in order to offset that carbon tax for the Lloydminster Saskatchewan residents. So I have been advocating for it, haven't got there yet, but I'm hoping if I'm returned as the MLA that I will continue to do that.
Oil is a really big thing around here. Obviously, we heard at the oil show that producers are happy with the Saskatchewan government. How do you keep them happy? What do you have coming down the pipeline for our oil producers?
Well, I think just the incentives that we have put under for our natural resources in the province, and it isn't just gas, it's our minerals, our lithium, all the things that we've done, we've provided incentives in order to want them to invest in our province, which also helps to keep them, productive, but also creates jobs for the folks in the area and for this community and in our province all around. So we want investments from the oil and gas industry, and they seem to be pretty happy with the regulations and the incentives that we have put in place, and we're going to continue to provide those.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about education. And Mrs. Young brought up healthcare, and with an aging facility in Lloydminster for seniors, and she brought up the hospital. We'll get into that in just a moment, as well as talk about education and where that stands.
At Diamond 7 Meats, we work with local farm families to provide a high-quality product and a great selection for you. Try our mouth-watering smokies, pulled pork, roast beef, and more, made pure and natural with no additives or fillers. We offer custom processing, and our experienced team works for you to provide a selection of sausage, burgers, and jerkies made to your specifications. Take your grilling to the next level with a Yoder smoker. Complete the grilling experience with Canadian-made, award-winning line of House of Q barbecue sauces. We're locally owned and operated, and we look forward to seeing you today.
I'm Brian Zinchuk of PipelineOnline.ca. I used to be a pipeliner, and I've spent the last 15 years reporting on energy in Saskatchewan. PipelineOnline.ca provides comprehensive coverage of light oil, heavy oil, lithium, helium, power production including coal, wind, solar, geothermal, natural gas, and nuclear. There's a lot happening in Saskatchewan's energy sector, and Pipeline Online is there for all of it. No one else comes even close.
At CK McKean Roofing, they understand what it took to put that roof over your head for your family. With over 20 years of experience under their belt, they strive to show you that with their workmanship and their integrity. Not all roofing companies are created equal, and that's why CK McKean Roofing encourages you to focus on your most important investments, your home and your family. CK McKean Roofing. Roofers do it on top.
At Synergy Credit Union, we're more than just a financial institution. We're your partners in every step of your journey. From supporting local businesses to enhancing community life, we're committed to making a difference. Join us in shaping a brighter future. Together, we thrive, because this is Synergy.
Welcome back inside the new Lloydminster Nissan. Colleen Young is the incumbent for the Lloydminster riding in this year's Saskatchewan election, which starts on October 22nd, and you have almost a full week to vote, excluding the Sunday. There will be no voting on the Sunday, and then the big day is October the 28th, and that's when we will find out, likely get results from a week-long period of voting. Is every province required to do that now? How did Saskatchewan end up? Like, I was surprised. I was talking to Heather the other day, and she was like about 2 weeks ago. I said, well, voting starts on October 22nd. She had no idea. She's like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean? It's October 28th. No. You can start voting October 22nd.
No, it's the province. Each province can decide on their own, and we're just trying to find a way to encourage more voters and give voters the opportunity to get out. We've always had advance polls, but this time we've basically extended that to give more opportunity for voters who are working to get out and vote at their leisure.
Let's get into education, because in the spring, that's all we heard about in Saskatchewan. Teachers were upset. Even into last winter, I remember teachers out picketing in like minus 35 below weather. And then in the spring, it kind of went away towards the summer. Is it just that it went to arbitration and now we're just waiting on it? Where are we at with education in our province?
It is an arbitration. The dates were agreed upon by both parties, and those dates are not till December 14th and 15th, or 13th, 14th, I can't remember exactly, but it's somewhere in there that it is in arbitration, and then it will be decided. So yes, there was back and forth. There was, some pretty good tension at the very beginning, because what's in the collective bargaining agreement was being asked to be added to by the teachers union, and that was something that the negotiations didn't go very well, as we all know and heard about. But as time went, I think there became much bigger discussions, but in the end it ended up having to go to arbitration, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens when that is decided in December.
As the Minister of Advanced Education, are you privy to that? Are you privy to all of those discussions that went on? Like, where does your role tie in with what's happening with that arbitration? Like, I know you don't have any say now; it's gone to an arbitrator. But as the minister, how were you involved in trying to solve this relationship?
All members of caucus of the Saskatchewan Party caucus were part of the discussions as it went along. Minister Cockrell would provide an update to all of us with regards to where the discussions were at, and at that point, and so we were all able to contribute to what we felt the next steps would be in that process as well. So it wasn't just myself as a Minister of Advanced Ed, it was all of our caucus members were involved in those discussions and were able to contribute to.
Healthcare. Now here's the big one. This is, you mentioned it was like, second to homelessness in the communities. We're hearing nurses are overworked. They're retiring early. They're getting out of the profession because of the long hours, and they don't have the life work balance that they need. We hear doctors are leaving the province in record numbers. We're hearing that there's lineups at emergency waits. We've all had that happen to us, where we've been in emergency, we've had to wait for hours. We're also hearing of beds being in hallways and things like that in our hospitals. Is this a provincial concern, or is this a national concern? Because we hear it in Alberta as well.
It is a national concern across the province. But as a province ourselves, we have added 1,000 more doctors. We've added about 1,400 more nurses. And that's even just since we've put in our Health Human Resources Action Plan in 2022. So it's there are going to be those challenges. I think that there's different expectations in healthcare now, I think, than what it used to be. And as you said, it's that life-work balance that people are looking for. So, a doctor running his own, setting up and running his own clinic, but also being asked to do, hours at the hospital. And if they have a young family, it becomes very difficult, right? So it's hard to find that. I know a couple of the conversations I have had at the door are with healthcare workers, and a lot of it has to do with scheduling and the management that is being done at some of our facilities. And let's talk about Lloydminster here, for instance, is that, those that are only part-time don't really have a say in the extra hours that they may want to work. They're given a schedule and that's all they're offered because they are only part-time, and they would like to see that changed. Lloydminster here alone since 2022 has had 5 lab techs added. It's had 35 nurses added and filled positions that were not that were vacant before, and about, I think, 14 continuing care aides added to facilities here in Lloydminster. So we have benefit from the Health Human Resources Action Plan that wasn't put in place in 2022. It's still maybe not enough. And I know that, like I said, we have a hospital that serves, as I understand, over 150,000 people, because I was just in Pierceland twice here in the last month and talked to folks up there, and that's one of the concerns they have, is because since COVID, Alberta has changed the rules with regards to Saskatchewan residents seeing specialists in Alberta, and yet Pierceland folks have had their doctors in Cold Lake or Bonneville. And now they are being told that they no longer can be sent to Edmonton for specialty services because Alberta health services don't allow it. So they're concerned because their next options are to drive to Lloydminster, to drive to Saskatoon, to drive to Meadow Lake. And if you're an older person and don't necessarily have the ability to take yourself or don't have family members, that is an issue. So that's one of the concerns I heard out of Pierceland on the healthcare end of things more so. I think our rural communities are probably struggling more when it comes to those. I know Lloydminster Hospital, as I said, does need some work, renovations, expansion, however you want to look at it. But our rural communities also are served here in Lloydminster or Meadow Lake, and I think that's something we really, as a government, need to look at. But as you know, since we came into power, we have been building hospitals and long-term care. We've built 15 long-term care facilities and 69 schools and a number of hospitals, and we have 2 major ones, the Victoria Hospital in PA and Weyburn on the go right now as well. So, and that's something we're committed to continuing to do, is to ensure that we are expanding healthcare services where they're needed.
The NDP is committed to throwing some dollars at the healthcare. I think it's 1.1 billion is what they've said that they will do to ensure there's more nurses, more doctors. Is it a matter of we should throw more money at our health issues, at our healthcare, at our nurses, at our doctors? How do we keep adding? So you mentioned, you said, well, maybe it's not enough yet. How do we get to a point where it's enough if we're not adding more dollars?
Well, we are adding more dollars, and our healthcare budget is the biggest part of our Saskatchewan budget. Healthcare is the biggest one, and we're constantly adding money to it, ensuring that we are trying to get through surgeries faster and get it down to at least 3 months, and we've done a pretty good job on that. But there's more to do there. It's more of a systems management thing, I believe, than it is about throwing money at it as well. So, and that's something that I know our health ministers have looked at over and over again. Particularly, last year they looked at our rural areas and how they could change and offer more full-time positions in some of our rural areas for some of our young folks who are graduating and getting out there. I saw, as the advanced education minister this spring, I attended a number of convocations across the province in Weyburn, up in La Ronge. I was at Sask Poly, University of Regina, University of Saskatchewan, and watched the number of nurses, care aides, and doctors cross the stage. And I'm very proud to say we have added seats. Some of it's going to take time to get through the system because those seats have only been added in the last year and a half. And it takes 4 years to, get them out the door. Yes, we've added Filipinos as well, but we have our own that are sitting here in our province that want to work. And we've added to our graduate retention program to keep students here in our province and offer that as well. So I think we're going to see that, and it is going to get better because we are adding people into the system. And we can't force them to stay here in this province. And I know, as we said, it's a national issue. So some will leave, but the more we can do to ensure that the seats we are filling, the students we are graduating are wanting to stay in our province, to go and work in rural and remote areas as well as in our major cities.
Retention is a big thing.
It is.
It definitely is a huge thing. And you mentioned that you'd like to see the Lloydminster Hospital get an upgrade. Where is it on the priority list for the Saskatchewan Party?
Well, I know the
Lloydminster's Hospital.
Minister Henley was here a year ago in June, in 2023 in June, and did tour the hospital, and we looked at areas where potentially there could be, such as an additional OR, which would increase the amount of surgeries that we're doing here. There were some other areas, as we've seen, finally, the dialysis unit, which is owned by Alberta Health Services, but it was Saskatchewan who was doing the renovations to move it in there, has taken longer than anticipated, and it's glad to see it's finally up and going. But I think there needs to be additional beds added as well to serve the population that we have. And that will mean that, staffing will have to come with those additional beds as well. Where it is on the priority list, I can't tell you. I am not privy to that with Sask Builds, but I know that I've advocated for it strongly, and I'm hoping it is on there somewhere. And if I get reelected, I will continue to advocate to see that if we get an expansion and some renovations at our Lloydminster Hospital to serve our citizens better.
You and I have talked about Jubilee Home too. That's become more of a focus now, I think, than maybe the hospital. We're hearing the Jubilee Home renovations or a replacement for the Jubilee Home from a lot of people here in the community now. It's starting to become a concern. I feel like you started that, Colleen.
Well, I know there's.
Am I right to say you kind of?
Yeah, I have been advocating for them. I brought the minister here too, took him through Jubilee Home. It has aged out. The building has had renovations over the years and some work done on it. So the building itself, but it's the design of the building doesn't serve the needs of the residents as it should today in our modern day. We've looked at how we can provide long-term care to residents who need that and can get through all the stages of long-term care right from the beginning to the end of life. And Jubilee Home doesn't offer that anymore. And to fix it up and to do the work that is needed in order to provide those better care and services for seniors would be very costly. So it's better to replace the building. I worked with Synovus in order to secure property for the rebuilding of the long-term care, along with the hospice, a 10-bed hospice next to it, which is one of those stages of life for some. And it's still sitting there waiting. So I'm hoping when I go back into the legislature and to the government that I can continue to advocate for the replacement of the Jubilee Home and see a lot more beds added too, because we do have a waiting list. The waiting list is growing. We do have other facilities in the community, but they're always full. We do have facilities and beds in our smaller surrounding communities where people are being sent, but it isn't convenient for families who want to be close to their loved ones when they are going through those stages in life. and want to visit them on a more regular basis.
Yeah, driving to Turtleford just isn't on anybody's radar, especially in January and February.
Yeah.
Lloydminster is so different. Like this community is so different from other areas. You know, I see the NDP saying they will lower they'll take the PST off of groceries and off of clothing. It's not really a thing here, is it? But
no, because we don't have PST.
It's really interesting. But do you hear about that when you're out in your rural areas, when you're campaigning in rural areas?
It has not been brought up. PST, there's only two ways that governments can bring in revenues, and that's through our natural resources and our PST, right? And so, in order to remove it, you have to find other resources then in order to be able to bring that revenue back into the coffers of the government in order to provide healthcare, education, social services, and support the most vulnerable in your communities. And if you start removing the most, it's the most fair and equitable way, because it taxes everybody that's working, contributing to the economy in the right way.
Scott Moe, I saw his presentation on lowering taxes. For me, I always worry about my parents because they're on a fixed income. They don't have the ability to get more money. What they have is what they have. How does the lowering of taxes affect different age groups, but specifically our seniors?
Our seniors we've raised that seniors benefit so that they can claim more on their taxes, but the NDP kept it for 16 years at $90. We've increased it year after year since we've brought it in, and it's at $365, I believe, right now. But also the fact that they can, the tax benefit that they get will be, I believe it's about $3,100 on their income tax out of there as well. So that the more that we can, taxes, as I said, are the most fair and equitable way that people can, have a good income, but also not have to, be able to afford to live, is what it is. So, that's the most fairest way to do it. And because it is people who live and work, and even for our seniors, they have contributed much to our society and our economy over their lifetime. And we need to make sure that they're taken care of. So by increasing that seniors' personal tax benefit, I think it'll really help out. Our personal care homes, we've increased that by $1,000 a month now. So, because we know that the personal care homes are charging more because they are paying more in carbon taxes on their utilities and their heating bills. So we have increased that from $2,400 to $3,400 a month. It'll be.
Is it like, I can just hear my parents saying, will we even notice? Will it be enough that we'll notice a change?
I believe it will. I believe it will be enough that they'll notice the change, and it'll be beneficial to them.
Anything, Colleen, I'm forgetting to ask that you want people to know ahead of the election or ahead of tomorrow night's forum?
Well, I think that, as I said, I've lived in this community, raised my family here for 38 years. I'm very proud to say that out of our 8 children, 5 of them have moved back to this community, are raising their families here, have started businesses here, and are contributing to the community and to the economy. So that's something I'm very proud of to say. But I think also the fact that, I believe I've been a strong advocate and leader for our community within the government over the last 10 years, and I want to continue doing that. I believe I still have things I can work to accomplish for this community, and I want to be that advocate and that voice. We have a strong leader in Scott Moe, someone who has vision, who has hope for this province, and has done a lot to ensure that the economy stays strong and that there is a bright future, because without a strong economy, without investment into our province, without taxes being paid, you don't get the quality of services that people come to expect.
Thank you, Colleen. Appreciate your time.
You're welcome. I'm glad to have been here today.
We will be with you tomorrow, and we'll be with you at the big truck giveaway for the co-op, which is happening tomorrow night. So I won't be able to be at the forum. I apologize.
All right.
Do you know if they're broadcasting it? I haven't seen
I
anything.
haven't heard if the Chamber's broadcasting.
I haven't heard anything about broadcasting. I was hoping to kind of watch it after, but with this commitment, I won't be able to be there. But you can certainly attend, and you could watch the big truck giveaway for Lloydminster and District Co-op on our broadcast as we bring you that tomorrow evening. So we're looking forward to that. And then Adam Tremblay, who is the NDP representative for Lloydminster, the candidate for Lloydminster, will join us on Thursday morning at 10 o'clock. And we appreciate your time joining us today. We'll talk to you again tomorrow evening.